Hey, I'm Mike,
And I'm Blake,
and this is Prove It, where we talk about our experiences.
and the validity of those experiences will be tested.
Today, we'll be discussing how Blake and I met. It's
And
quite an interesting story to start off with. We're both in swinger lifestyle. We both wanted to go to a party that this event planner was
hosting.
putting on, and they do a process where they vet single males because a lot of times single males can be creepy, and a lot of lifestyle parties don't actually allow many single males
Yeah.
because of that. So they did something I think is fantastic for the community, and they vet single males.
They don't want to worry about everybody else. Where the people that are actually in the lifestyle and have been in the lifestyle want to create that sense of community together. So where everybody's in a safe space, everybody pretty much trust everybody that's in it.
Right. So what this group does is they bring in the single males that are wanting to become part of their group, essentially their events, and they invite several friends, and you go to a local strip club, and
It was kind of classy though. Yeah.
so anyway, so we go there, and they bring several of their friends that come to a lot of their parties, and a few single males come in, and basically you just sit around and chat and bullshit, and they kind of fill you out and ask you some questions about yourself and how you got into the lifestyle and stuff.
And then want to know what my feeling was that they weren't really grilling us. Like, well, yeah, you sit down, get the drinks flowing, everybody gets comfortable, and I know at first it was just the two of them, the host, and I don't think that you stayed until the friends showed up because I think you had some stuff going on. But
Yeah, I feel like I stayed a couple of hours, but I don't know, it probably went twice as long as
man, I was
that.
there till like 1 in the morning.
Yeah, and
I was joining the company.
yeah, I think it was like a 4 or 5 hour ordeal, but it makes a lot of sense. I did feel a little judged at first because I'm a BDSM dom, and although I lead with that, I also always reiterate the fact that that does not define me. And I felt like the whole time I just kept getting drilled about the BDSM thing. But in the end, it went well. And if everybody agrees that you're a good dude at the end of the day,
Yeah.
then they're very organized, and they have a little registration. You go online, you register, and they sign off that you've been vetted. And then any of their parties going forward, you're allowed to go.
I 100% like. I know that you're going into business ventures and stuff like that too. That's something that I hope that you do. And if I go into this venture with you, I'll be willing to help out with that. But of course, it's better to have a female perspective when coming from it, especially with single males coming through.
Right,
Because
exactly. Yeah, you definitely need both perspectives, and especially in the lifestyle where women are the top priority, basically. But long story short, that's how we met. However, we quickly discovered that we had a lot more in common than just being in the lifestyle.
yeah,
We're both combat veterans. We don't live far apart, and there's a few other things that we both enjoy. So we kind of connected on several other levels, and I've actually never been to any of their lifestyle parties up to this point. I am collaborating with them to do parties at my house, but beyond that, I haven't ever been to one of their parties. You've been to an event with them.
yeah. I went to an event that they held. It was I think I came over to your place actually that night before I went,
Oh,
and
I remember
we
that.
had some drinks, and then I went over there. It was nice thing about it too. It's BYOB,
Yep.
so bring your own booze, bring your own protection. Protection required, of course, which is always a thing in the community.
Or test results.
Yeah,
Recent
depending on
recent test results.
test results, protection, and consent. Consent's the biggest. So you always got have to ask before touching.
Yeah.
But it was it was actually a pretty good party. Everybody sat and talked down in the lobby, had drinks flowing and everything. Moved up and upstairs, and
Just
first
good
people
experience.
still people getting to know each other. But it was overall a good experience. Many people showed up a little later in the night, but
Yeah, and then from everything I hear, they're great folks, and they're throw good parties and very respectable, and they're on the same wavelength as us as far as maintaining respect and asking for permission. But the biggest thing for me is I made a new really close friend. Blake and I have known each other for barely a year, probably
Yeah, a little bit
little
over a
over,
year.
maybe yeah, a little over a year, maybe going on a year and a half.
I think we
And
met in like June of last year.
okay, yeah, yeah, that sounds about
Because,
right.
well, it was before June because yeah, we went on. We'll get into it later, but we
Yeah.
went during the summer. We did some stuff. I
Well,
remember
yeah,
that.
that's what I wanted to segue into. Actually, was the fact that we met at that swinger party, but we discovered a lot of other things that we both had in common.
Yeah, with you being
And
an Iraq vet and myself being an Afghan vet, so
exactly, yeah. And we hung out a couple times after that. We, like you said, came over, had drinks.
you cooked for me one time.
I cooked for you. I'm trying to write my own cookbook just because I throw together a bunch of crap and it sometimes turns out pretty nice. So I want to recreate it. We went to the lake one time. I had a friend that had a nice little cabin cruiser boat on Lake Louisville, and we went out with him and took a couple of girls out there and saw some boobies and stuff.
The summer, dude,
And
the summer parties on the lake are freaking insane. But you got to know where you're going. That's the thing.
yeah, yeah. My next business venture is definitely to get a small, like, 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom yacht, because you can get them pretty cheap and put it on the lake and charter it out so it pays for itself, and then we can get a bunch of girls to go out there and run around topless on the boat with us and have a grand old time. It's party coves. Every major lake has a party cove, and Lake Louisville is a
Oh man.
blast. We had a lot of fun.
Remember that they had the bachelorette party, and I asked them, "Hey, you want a beer?" And I freaking jumped off the boat as I was moving. I swam a beer to them,
I
and
do remember
they
that.
sat there partying with them for a
Yeah.
good 10 minutes, and they brought me back.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah. But the biggest thing that we did, like you said, if we met in, say, June, I tried to do multi-day backpacking trip, like a 3-day backpacking
Hmm.
trip for Veterans Day, just kind of as my commemoration to my time in service, but also to just remember those that are still out there deployed, that are, fighting for our country and serving our country, wearing the uniform. So I want to embrace the suck to a degree. It's a good military term we'll throw out there. And I try to do like a 3-day backpacking trip. So that November, I invited you, with having hung out just a few times in a few hours total, knowing you, invited you to a 3-day backpacking trip with a couple of my buddies from Houston, and you fucking accepted, man. It was awesome.
Well, I needed to get away too, so that was a big thing. And then I love hiking. I do love hiking. So he's like, "Oh yeah, 3 day backpacking trip." I'm thinking in the back of my mind, "Oh no, this is no sweat. Like I've been in the field, I've ruck marched and everything. 30-pound ruck for 15 miles. No, no."
Now, granted, I did put a disclaimer out there. I sent the information for the backpacking trip. I said, it's 3 days. It's like a 27 miles. There's like 9 different peaks. They're not mountains, but they're very steep and they're not easy. And the first day you do like 7 of the 9 peaks, and you end. It's called Eagle Rock Loop in the Ouachita National Forest, and you end at the top of Eagle Rock Loop, which has the most amazing view,
Hmm.
especially in the fall, because all the leaves are turning, and you just see this forest of leaves that have turned colors, and it's absolutely amazing. My other buddy actually came out, and he's quite a bit older than me, and he definitely wasn't prepared for it. He got about a quarter of the way up the first
Oh
peak
yeah.
and tapped out and turned around and went back. But this guy, Blake, he came out there with a bunch of guys he didn't know out in the woods with no cell service, which is a scary thing in itself, and rocked out with a cock out.
And it was a fun trip too. Like the thing is, it got cold at night and everything, but we had to collect our own firewood. We had to start our own fires, and since the temperature dropped so drastically, also we had to keep the fire going as long as possible. I think that we had our. I know that I had my Sub-Zero sleeping bag, so I was warm when I slept. But Lord, when I opened the sleeping bag, you could feel it was just pinching you. It's just like one of the traditions that I loved. I thought it was a little weird, but you told me about it before, and you actually helped me prepare. But the first day when we get up all these peaks, they pull out their marinated steaks that they marinated overnight and cook them. So you have steak on that first day, which is actually a pretty good meal after such a hard day's work.
But it's also really wrong. Do
Yes.
not do that. Because when you cook fresh meat like that, it attracts bears.
Fresh meat.
And when you're out in the wilderness with no cell service, 7 peaks up into a hike where it's very difficult to get to, like you probably just they're gonna have to bring a helicopter or something in, and they're gonna have to drop a line to get to you. You don't want to be fighting off bears. It's just not real smart. Now, again, we're combat veterans, and
We all had
um,
knives.
and well, I always carry a pistol too, so I don't want to fight a bear. I don't want to kill a bear unless I was trying to eat it or use it for warmth or for its coat or something. So it's not the brightest thing in the world to do. But when we first started doing these hikes, we we didn't know shit about hiking. Honestly, we the first hike we did, I was still using my military gear. I had an old Alice pack, and I didn't have any water filtration system, so I carried all my water on me. Wore combat boots, and it was miserable. I think we did 15 miles in 3 days the first time, and we tried to climb rocks and mountains and crap. And man, my pack was twice as much as what I carry now when we backpack. And we were idiots, but we maintained that tradition of the steak on the first night. So far it hasn't gone awry.
No, no, it hasn't gone around at all. But like it was just so funny to me. I was like, okay, I totally ruined my little those camping pans that you can get in the bundle. They're
Yeah.
cheap. They're so cheap. It's like cooking a steak in them is so unrealistic.
Yeah, yeah, because it's not like you have all the niceties of home where you can, spray some Pam on there or some olive oil or whatever. Now I marinate my steaks in vegetable oil with the marinade and the spices and stuff, so it gives it a little non-stick feature and whatever. But yeah, you're pretty much gonna destroy your
Oh,
cookware. But
but I think that all of us agreed too. Like it was nice just to get away, disconnect from everything. And one of the, it was a little quieter. I didn't have my ex in my ear the whole time, and I think that at least one of the guys was still married.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the big problems is, everybody gets so attached to their phones and these electronic leashes. And one of the things that annoys the crap out of me is when somebody calls you or texts you and you don't answer, and then they just start speed dialing you over and over and over or texting you 500 times. It's like, yo, I'm not obligated to you. If I was a police officer or some other sort of service like that where I'm on call and I've got to answer the phone, that's one thing. But if you're just my friend or even a family member, if I don't answer the phone, it's because I'm doing other shit. Like I have a life. Maybe I'm sitting by the pool. I might be watching a movie. You know what? I just might not want to fucking talk to you.
Yeah, I got you. I didn't. Well, going back to what you said earlier, you sent out all the information of the camping trip before the hiking trip. Well, we don't pay attention to. It's like it's a hiking trip. Okay, yeah, elevation. Well, I kind of screwed myself on that one, and then I found out like the day before. It's like, hey, we got to do river crossings.
You know what? That's actually one that I learned from because the times that I've done it before, I didn't the river crossings weren't nearly as deep. This time the water level was quite a ways up.
Yeah, it just rained.
Yeah, and we were taking our pants off because it was cold too. It's November, and this is the Ouachita National Forest. It's in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas. It's the biggest national forest in the South, land area wise. And yeah, November it's cold and the water's cold, and we were literally taking our pants off so that our pants wouldn't be wet and give us hypothermia from getting so cold in the air with the wet pants. So we take our pants off and we cross the river. But the thing I didn't anticipate was you have to bring some sort of flip flops or water shoes because
Mhm.
the bottom of the riverbeds and creeks are rocky. So I was fumbling around, walking on these rocks and beating my feet up, and I think you were too.
No, I just wore my regular tennis shoes, and then they would just never again. They were hiking shoes, so they're breathable and everything. They were made for water crossings, but they got so freaking wet that I was constantly changing socks. I brought 12 pairs of socks with me, which was smart on my part. But I would have to set my shoes by the fire every day. Funny story that I melted my soles.
Yeah, I would put my hiking sticks or hiking poles next to the fire and stick them in the ground, and then put my boots upside down on the poles to dry my boots out because we had waterproof hiking shoes and hiking boots, but when you fill them up with water, they're not waterproof when you put the water on the inside, so you got to dry them out. Like I said before, when I did those crossings and stuff, they weren't so high, and I could just walk through them because they're below the top of my boots. This time when we were waist deep on some of those
Oh
things.
yeah, where the main part of the Little Colorado River was. I remember that I was chest deep, and I was carrying my pack over my head.
Yeah. And
To put perspective into it, like I'm the shortest guy in the group. I'm 5'6". All of you guys are 6'2", 6'3".
yeah, when we're striding out, you're running. But yeah, it's a pain in the ass, and we definitely learned a lot from that trip as far as equipment. And every time I go on these backpacking trips and stuff, I learn more, and I try to buy more equipment and then share the old equipment I have with other people that want to go with me.
Well, next time, one thing I would like to do is fishing, man.
Yeah, I have a telescopic fishing pole it's really light and it's got a little tackle
I
box with
have
it
one
and stuff.
too.
A lot of times, especially on that particular trail, we're covering so much ground in such a short amount of time because we're
Mhm.
doing like 27 miles and it has all those peaks and stuff. We were busting ass to do 9 or 10 miles a day. And when you're climbing hills and stuff, literally every moment of sunlight you have, you're just hauling ass trying to get
I'm
through the hike.
our,
But
I mean, like our tent setup and everything. I believe was less than an hour to set up a whole camp, and then when we woke up in the morning, we were gone like
30
that.
minutes, yeah, 30 minutes we break down camp and we're gone, and then we're back to walking. But that was the point of the my veteran day or veteran weekend hikes is I want to suffer. You know,
Yeah.
I know that sounds crazy, but anybody who is a military veteran, they understand, embracing the suck.
Hmm.
And, you want to get out there and you want to suffer. And when you're in that suffrage situation or experience, that's when you tend to make the best bonds with your
Oh,
friends.
100%.
Again, I'm not doing nearly as much as I did in the military and nearly as much as those who are still in that are doing. But I just want to feel it a little bit for them and for myself, and just to remember and to still kind of feel linked to that service and whatnot. And it's a good time. You make good friends. Like my buddy that came up from Houston, he brought his friend that I'd never met, and we all became friends. You guys became friends. It's a great bonding and camaraderie experience.
Yeah, and like I know that right after that trip, we kind of lost some contact for a little bit, but it wasn't really losing contact because we're still like, hey, how you doing? Checking in on each other. I was always asking, oh, hey, you talk about buying a house. You still looking? And let me know if there's anything I can do for you.
Yeah, keeping the communication back and forth and just touching base every few weeks and stuff. That was fantastic because I was actually at that point in my life, I had just overcome a long, deep state of depression. The first time I've
Hmm.
ever experienced depression. I do have PTSD from combat. I was on the invasion of Iraq in '03, and then I went again in '07. And I know you have similar experiences. So at that point in my life, I had just kind of come out of deep depression. I was actually about 40 pounds fatter than I am right now. And I had eliminated a bunch of people from my life that I call energy vampires. Those are people who come over, they hang out with you, and they just bitch, moan, and complain
Yeah.
about everything. They have the victim complex, and they're bitching about their job, and they're bitching about their girlfriend or boyfriend, they're bitching about their family, and they're bitching about money, and there's bitch, 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 bitch. And because you and I are nice guys, we want to help people. We're, Captain Save-A-Ho.
Right.
And we'll just sit there and take an ear beating for hours because we feel like we're helping someone through something. And what I eventually realized was I'm taking these 5 hour ear beatings weekend after weekend, day after day, and I got nothing from it. I didn't put my shit on them. I just listened and took their shit. And most of the time, we didn't do anything fun. We didn't go backpacking. We didn't go to the
Yeah.
lake. We didn't do anything fucking fun. So I was wanting and hoping to find some new friends and create a new circle because I cut all those energy vampires out of my life. And you were a fucking ray of sunshine for me.
Well, like the thing is I was going through my stuff. Like I got divorced last year, so that was a big part of like you.
Congratulations.
well, well, that's a proving moment also. But look, I'm pretty sure I got a divorce decree somewhere. But
I got one of those.
hey, been there, done that, went down that road, right?
Hell yeah.
But it really speaks on your character that, like, even after that amount of time that we got back and forth. But I think one thing that both of us came to a realization of is like, you're a great dude, man. You are a great dude. And I see you giving so much. But one thing I've always said is I will never take anything from you. And I've never seen you try to use me. And that's the energy that I like to keep and people that I like to keep around me.
That's a great point because a lot of those energy vampires, they're very manipulative. They try to take and take and take. And then if you don't continue to give to them, they try to guilt trip you and make you feel bad or continue to talk about their bad situation and their victim complex. And that's one of the refreshing things about you that, like you said, you're a great fucking dude. You've never asked anything of me. In fact, I've asked you recently to help me on a couple of things, and I try to give back as much as I can in any way I can to you. And that's what friendships are supposed to be about. Is I give to you because you're my friend and I care about you and I don't expect anything in return. And then you, because you're my friend and you're a kind and considerate and giving person, you give to me and you want to do things for me. And we're not asking for things. We're not um, throwing our sorrows on each other. Woe was me, expecting someone to volunteer to throw us some money or to put us up or something like that. That's actually a good kind of segue that I wanted to get into is how men of my generation, and I feel like you're more my generation, Gen X, than your generation, but
Yeah.
how we kind of treat other men when they're going through something. Because you did go through a divorce and whatnot. And I went through my little depression and
And it's something that we constantly battle with. It's one of those invisible battles because talk about the Gen X is like we were raised not to show that.
exactly. You're raised to push those feelings down. And then, like in the military, we say, suck it up and drive on.
Oh, no, even before the military, my dad, for instance, he was like, "Suck it up,
Be a
be
man.
a man." Yeah,
Be a
be a
man. Be
man.
a man. How many times have you heard be a man? And now with the woke culture and everything, it's toxic to be masculine. But at the same time, you get no respect if you're not masculine. So we're fighting a double-edged sword now as men. But one of the things that we do as men when we see another guy struggling or going through it, what I've found is women and maybe younger generations, they want to talk about their feelings. We're in the therapy generation, I guess. And I'm in therapy. I have PTSD. I'm not knocking therapy at
Oh
all.
no, I still go to therapy every week, man.
Absolutely. And I promote therapy. I
It's the
would
best thing you got to because you're not always going to be able to talk to somebody about something, but if you can go to the therapist and talk to them about that, man, even just to go bitch to somebody because
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about the energy vampires once again. Many of them can use a therapist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not your therapist. If you want to pay me $200 an hour or whatever to give me an ear beating for 5 hours, and I'll happily, you can Venmo me, Cash at me, Zelle me. But my point was, as men of our generation or that raised in that mindset, is you kind of push your feelings down. And when we notice each other going through stuff, the right thing for men to do for other men most of the time, if you're from our background, our generation type thing, is just leave it alone. If he wants to talk about it, if you want to talk about it, you're going to come to me and tell me, hey, man, I need to talk. But if I just ask you, hey, man, you okay? Everything's, how's it going?
Yeah, I might.
Yeah, the answer is gonna be I'm all right. And if I try to take, well, man, you don't seem all right, it's gonna fucking annoy you, you know.
Like, man, I don't want to
So
fucking talk about
so
it.
when, like you said, we met, we hit it off, it was great. We hung out a couple of times, and then we kind of distanced for a little bit, and that was because I knew that you were dealing with some shit, I was dealing with some shit, and instead of prying and just being on top of each other about it, we just kind of leave it open, like, hey, man, I'm here if you want to kick it. Like we don't do the I'm here if you want to talk about it. No, I'm here if you want to kick it, man. You know, if you want to distract yourself. Actually, there's a great story. A friend of mine, we used to work together. I ran a moving company, and he was one of my sales guys, and he's a little older than me, and he got diagnosed with lung cancer, and he showed up about 3 or 4 months ago, and he said, "Hey, Mike, I just want to tell you, man, I got diagnosed with lung cancer."
Oh man.
And my first reaction was like, fuck, I told you to stop smoking, bro. But I didn't say that. But I was like, man, he goes, yeah, man, I haven't told my kids or anybody yet. And number one, I was so honored that this man, I've known for 4 or 5 years now. We were co-workers. We've hung out outside of work a few times, but that he would come to me and he would open up to me about something that's very personal and difficult. And my reaction was like, well, man, you've really fucking lived a good life. You've rocked out, because he's a big rock and roll fan. He's traveled all over the country. He drove a big rig, working for moving companies and stuff. And he went to a bunch of concerts and just really rocked out and had a grand old time. And he really lived his life. And I was like, well, man, if you go out now, you've lived a pretty full life. You got a bunch of grandkids and stuff, and you killed it, man. But anyway, what do you want to do? Let's go do something. Let's have some fun. And I just changed the subject, because if you just sit there and dwell on it with another man, and he's, a
Well,
generation older than me.
it's not how we're programmed though.
Yeah, we get uncomfortable when somebody asks us to share our feelings and our emotions and stuff. And I was just like, so you want to jump in a pool or go shoot some pool upstairs or something? Like, whatever you need, like, come over and we'll buy some chickens and chase them around the yard or something.
I mean, I think that was a perfect response to it. Like, if I was like, man, my life's going to be over here soon. I don't want people to be like mourning all the time around.
What can I do
Man,
for
it's like,
you?
dude, what do you want to do before you go out? Let's fucking go out with a
Yeah,
bang.
hey, like what? How much alcohol? We'll get fucking IVs on standby. We'll get toasted. We'll fucking go to the strip club. Whatever, bro. Let's go skydiving. I don't care. Let's go shoot a buck in Alaska or something. I don't know. Let's go fucking do some shit and fucking live.
Yes.
Because the fact of the matter is, everybody dies, but not everybody truly lives.
I've always said, if I ever get diagnosed and I know that I'm gone, my bank account's going to be empty by the time I'm gone.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sorry for whoever has to deal with my crap, because I'm just going to be in debt. We're charging credit cards up to the roof. We're traveling. I'm going to see some lady boys in Thailand. Whatever we can do, man. I'm going to have some fun, I'm going to go try to swim with some sharks. I'll go Rob Dyrdek on it and let a shark bite my elbow or something. Like, let's fucking go, baby. I want to die in the middle of fucking jumping out of an airplane or
So
getting punched in the face by fucking Chocolate Hill or something.
let's transition in that. Like, if you could do anything before your life was over, what's the one thing you want to do?
Two girls at the same time, man.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. That's an office quote. You know, man, I honestly, I've lived a pretty damn good life. As this podcast is going to show, that's the whole reason it's called Prove It, is because
Mhm.
I have a bunch of just crazy, outlandish stories from the life I've lived so far. And I've done a lot of stuff.
But you,
You know what? I tell you what I would really, this is going to sound cheesy as shit. And this could be unexpected from you. But I would really like to just be in a loving, caring, mutually beneficial relationship and just enjoy those soft, intimate moments with a special person.
all right, I can respect that.
Because I haven't had that in a long time because I've been jaded and broken and busy and, figuring it out and, the military coming back from Iraq and readjusting and stuff like that and figuring shit out like that. But just having that comfort of someone who just adores you as much as you adore them,
Hmm.
that is one of the greatest things in life. And a lot of people have that. And it's not something that you can just go and buy a plane ticket for, or,
Oh
or
no,
you can't go just save up and buy a car or buy a house or get some. It's not a tangible thing. It's something that you have to find in life. And it's like finding a needle in a haystack. And I've experienced that a couple of times in my life. I've most likely fucked it up.
as
but
we all have,
but
right?
but that's one of the you know most amazing joys in life. And that's, if I feel like if you go out without that or having experienced that, then you really missed out on one of life's greatest gifts.
Well,
What
like,
about you?
well, I was going to go a little bit off of that.
Okay.
Not from the one thing is it's you're talking about how that's really rare to find. It's really hard to find unconditional love these days. Everything's conditional. What can you provide for me? Can you provide family for me? Can you provide a house for me? A car? It's all conditional these days.
Yep. And then people try to shape you into what they want you to be. They say they love you and then they want to change you. Well,
Oh
how do you love me if
no,
you want to
I
change
totally
everything
get
about
it.
me?
I totally get. For me, mine's a little cheesy. Also, I do have a son, but one of my go-to dreams is like one thing I want to do before I die is there's a place in Iceland, Reykjavik, the capital. So they have a gorgeous New Year's tradition to where everybody comes out and they have several huge fires around the city, and everybody comes out for
Fires?
fires, yeah. And
Like
then,
in trash cans or
no,
like
like big
bonfires?
bonfires, man. They have several big bonfires around the city, and that starts at night. Then they all go inside at 11 o'clock to watch the year in review for their city. And then at midnight, all over the city is just nothing but fireworks for 30, 45 minutes straight. But I would make a whole trip out of that because it's also one of the better places to see. My all-time dream is seeing the Northern Lights.
Oh yeah, okay. That's what I was thinking is the Northern Lights.
But
So
but I would,
fireworks on top of the Northern Lights. I just feel like there's a lot of fire hazards. Go ahead with
no,
all the
no,
fireworks, the bonfires and stuff. I feel like there's got to be some sort of structure that unintentionally gets burned out at least once every year.
I wouldn't doubt it, but hey, it is a cool tradition, man. Like this is coming from somebody that spent New Year's in Paris.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
like
Okay.
I love New Year's in Paris.
You got me on that one. You
That-
got me
that
on
was-
that one.
but I want to experience that with my son. Now, that that'd be amazing.
Oh,
Well, since we're really letting them get to know us, and we're actually getting to know each other a lot more, because like we said earlier, it's been a little over a year, maybe a year and a half at the most.
yep.
Um, but
15 months if you're going in baby days.
that's a whole nother segment. But like,
I'm 6,000 days old.
oh, how old's your baby? He's 17 months.
No, no, it's when they're like he's 48 months.
Oh, he's 4 years
He's
old.
4 years old. You stop talking in months. If you're talking in months, then you're treating him like a baby. And at that age,
Oh,
they're a sponge. They're so smart. Anyway,
that's a whole other
so
conversation because I
yeah,
could go
yeah,
in. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. We'll
but we're getting to know each other a little more. So I got a question for you, and
okay,
I would love for you to surprise me on this.
fire away.
Fire away. Here we go. And I'm going to answer right back if you want me to. But tell me something that I would be surprised to know about you that I don't know about you already.
There's a few things. I used to be a female. No,
No,
no, kidding,
whoa.
kidding. Just kidding. God, I'd be an ugly girl.
With that voice,
I'm
yeah.
not. I'm not even a good-looking guy, much less a girl. I'd be a terrible girl.
Did you get work on your vocal cords? Was that what it was?
Yes, it used to be so much slower.
No.
No, no. So this was kind of something that was a big part of my life uh, early on, and I've grown to be many different people over my lifetime. I just turned 46 a couple of days ago, and in that short amount of time, I say short because I'm trying to convince myself I'm still young, that I have completely changed my perspective on life and who I am and what I do many times. When I was young, I grew up very religious. I was Southern
Oh,
Baptist.
really?
Yeah, yeah. Believe it or not, because now I'm atheist. And I grew up Southern Baptist and I was all in, you know. My grandma would hate to hear me saying this, and I'm sure my mom still doesn't like it. But back in the day, I would go with my Sunday school teacher on Saturdays. We would go and visit all of the kids that were in my Sunday school class and just to see, hey, you know, stop by and say, are you going to be in church tomorrow? Blah, blah, blah. And that was actually one of my first mentors because my real father left my mom when he found out she was pregnant at 19 years old. My mom was
Oh,
19 when
wow.
she had me. So that was one of my first mentors around 10 years old. And yeah, we would do praise and worship services at nursing homes on Wednesdays and stuff. And even in college, I was still like on that bus, which I actually have some interesting pictures that we can throw up with me in a big red Jesus. It just says Jesus across the shirt. So, long story short, when I came back from Iraq the first time, 2003, I was on the invasion of Iraq in 2003, came back 2004, went back to college, and I wanted a job that I could basically just kind of camp out and be able to study.
Yeah, something wouldn't take up a lot of your time and stuff like that.
Right,
For coming
right.
for a college student.
Yeah, that I could just sit there and read and I used to bring my guitar in and stuff. But I found liquor stores were that was a place that I wanted to be at for what I wanted to do. Because essentially I wanted to be able to sit behind a counter and just study all day and not have a
Yeah.
lot of responsibility and get paid for it. So, and then, you know, a liquor store around in Oklahoma, which is where I went to school, not liquor store closes at 9 o'clock. So everybody rushes into the liquor store like 8:30, 8:45, big rush. Or, you know, on the weekends, if it's the summer, they're coming in and buying booze, you know, for the lake and whatnot. But in doing so, I met this gentleman that was managing the liquor store that I was working at, and he opened my eyes and basically started poking holes in the Bible.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was like, really think that you could put two of every animal on one boat and that they're not going to kill each other? And where are you going to put the water and the food for 40 days and 40 nights? A burning bush? man walking on water. He just started questioning all these things, which is kind of the basis of this podcast. Prove it. Because at that point, I'm a very logical and rational person. And he presented me something that was different from what I had always been thinking and brought up to.
Okay.
And I slept on it a couple of days and I was like, damn, he's right. All those stories in the Bible, they just don't check out for me. I don't know if I'm buying it now. And at first, I became agnostic.
So borderline, yeah.
Yeah, borderline. So then I saw something, I don't remember if it was a podcast or what it was, a comedian probably was like, the difference between an atheist and an agnostic is the agnostic is just sitting on the fence. You can't make a decision. You're either you believe or you don't believe.
I'm laughing because I know your mindset.
Yeah. And I was like, well, fuck that. I am a decision maker. I find a solution and I run with it. So I was like, okay, I'm atheist. As of this point in my life, right now, until somebody shows me something that changes my mind, I'm atheist.
Yeah. Oh, I respect that, man. I would have never guessed that you grew up in a church or anything. Not saying that because your mannerisms or anything, because, like I said, you're a great person and everything. But this is something that I never questioned because that's one thing that I've always left out of general conversations with getting to know somebody is with religion. But
Yeah. So, well, now it's your turn.
well, I know you can't tell it now, but I used to be a really good singer. Going up through high school, I was one of the best in my high school. I used to sing really high, tenor. I would go to contests, constantly get the best ratings. I slipped up one year, but I came back and I got the best rating next year. Went to.
I keep getting flashes of Step Brothers. I can go higher, higher.
Oh my God! No, no, no! Man, I know exactly what you're
Some
talking.
people say I have the voice of a generation.
A generational talent. No,
Go ahead.
but like I was going to district and state honor choirs, stuff like that. My solos, I would get top ratings. My ensembles, which was a group of people, get top ratings all the time. I won the National Choral Award for my school. Yeah, and it all stemmed from when I was in band and junior high. I played the trombone, and that's how I learned to read music. And I said, forget this. I don't want to be a band kid. And I joined the choir.
So why have you never sang for me?
Well, I did this thing called join the army. And through all the strain of yelling and everything, I damaged my vocal cords. And my voice is a lot
Oh,
deeper than it used to
yeah.
be.
If for those who don't know, when you get into a leadership position, you have to develop what's called a command voice,
Hmm.
which sounds something like this. Right, here, right, hit up your leg, right, there.
Yeah.
Something like that. And it's this diaphragm, glottal, just
You're just belting
booming,
it. Yeah.
like an opera singer almost from a deep within you.
Well, and with the way I'm spoken already, because I'm not the type of person that'll just go out and yell at a soldier. Like, I can sing cadence, I can do stuff like that, but I'm not the type of person that wants to sit there and I'm more of a, hey, I'm going to sit down and have a conversation with you about why you're wrong and what you did wrong and how we're going to fix it.
I did very similar things with my soldiers. I would sit down and I would have my soldier, I would say, hey, have a seat. And they would go to sit on the sofa like you are right now. And I'm like, no, 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 no. There. And I'd point to the wall and I'd make them
Ah.
wall sit with their arms out straight. And then I would say, okay, let's talk about what went wrong. And their legs are just shaking, their arms are shaking, and we'd talk it out, and we'd figure out what went wrong, and we'd correct it, and all the while their legs are just quivering and their arms are quivering. So I very similar. If you have this beautiful voice, I'm jealous because that's one thing in life that I feel like you're either gifted with it or you're
Yeah.
not. And I'm not. I can't carry a tune in a bucket. So with that gift, I know you said the military kind of changed your voice and you get gravelly and stuff. And, like Miley Cyrus, she was real peppy and stuff. And then she got kind of gravelly. So have you explored trying to sing with a new voice, a new tone or whatever?
No, like just your regular songs on the radio and stuff like that. But like, if I was to get back into actually singing, I would need a lot of voice training to get back to where I would want to be. And you know me, I'm not going to do anything half-assed. I put my all into everything. Like, not only was I singing for my school, but going where you're from, I was very involved with my church also. I was in the church choir. And granted, it was me and another girl were the youngest people in the choir by about 30 years, but
Well,
but and
I don't even want to know what happened with that.
oh man,
Well, honestly, I've got a buddy. You may or may not have met him, but he is a singer. He plays guitar. He used to be a singer in a band. He might be somebody that you could work with. We've got this little setup here. It's not made for singing, but it could be.
yeah,
So maybe we bring him in, put the guitar on, and maybe you guys talk about it. And I know he was an Olympic dive coach,
yeah,
so he at least knows how to teach and he knows how to sing, and he's a pretty good singer. So maybe we can connect with him.
yeah.
And he's also been to some lifestyle parties. He came to my first lifestyle party. So maybe we can connect with him and everybody wins on that because I want to hear your voice. I want to hear your stepbrother voice. The angels come from the skies to hear your voice. I want to hear it.
It's a fucking Catalina wine mixer. I mean, I could get back into it. Something that I would be interested into.
Well, I think my buddy would definitely be on board with working with us, and I'm sure he's probably going to be on future podcasts as well because there's a lot of stuff that I've done with him that I'm going to tell stories about, and we're going to hash that out on the podcast.
Well, thank you for joining us, and join us next time for our next episode of
Prove It.